Yes.
Mr. Goins?
Yes.
Mrs. Schultz, yes. Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
All right, new business. Not a lot of updates on the property inventory down there. We still have the same lots that we had before. We do have an update with 3 of the lots that were recently acquired by the Neighborhood Housing Services. They have intent to apply for permits. They're trying to get the permits in by the end of the year, and plan to build 3 houses just south of where the Milton Street Park's located. In addition to that, the CIC members here know about the improvements that are planned for that. Other than that, I guess we could discuss the schedule for next year. I mean, historically, we've just done quarterly in March, June, September, December, the same night as the trustee meeting. So I move that we stay with that.
That works for me.
March, June, September, and December, same date as the trustee meeting. 7 p.m. Seems to be working out. It will be. That's all I have as far as update. No public comments. Any board comments? None? Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Goins?
Yes.
Mr. Birding?
Yes.
Ms. Schultz, yes. Mrs. Harkemaier?
Yes.
Mr. McAdoo?
Yep.
7:03. Okay.
All right, are we clear to move to the trustee meeting?
Yep.
Good evening. It is Tuesday, December 10th at 7:05. To call this and given the agents during the CIC, we'll dispense with that for now, and we have no one to lead tonight. Let's move to the next thing. We have a presentation. Or no, that's just there. Okay, items for board discussion then. Is everyone okay with the meeting on January 14th at 7 p.m.?
Yes, that date's good for me. Trustee McAdoo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to do something earlier than that. Should we meet earlier, Larry, and rehire employees and things, or can we wait till the 14th?
You can wait until the 14th. Most places do it earlier, but you can wait until the 14th if you would like to.
Is there a date that you're suggesting, Trustee McAdoo?
No, that's as late as it can be. 14th. You know, we stay on the second Tuesday.
I'm flexible. I mean, if we want to do that, then that's fine. If we want to do it a little earlier, is there a legal issue with us waiting till the
No,
14th?
I think the 14th is probably the last date you can do it, but
Okay.
Well, maybe we should make it then the 7th, just in case we get weather on the 14th. We would be able to fulfill our obligation if we'd have to cancel the meeting
I think
for a snowstorm.
most places do it the first week of January.
So is that first Tuesday, the 7th? Is that okay with everybody?
Works for me.
7 o'clock?
Yeah, let's do that.
Just for organizational, and then we'll do our regular meeting on the 14th. Is that right? Or do you want to move on?
I think we
both
can
up?
combine both of them.
Okay.
I mean, do the organizational, then move into the regular, correct?
Is that okay with you, Shelley?
Yep, it's good for
You're
me.
available on the 7th?
Yep.
All right, let's do that.
We'll just make it our organization followed by a regular meeting.
After that, you can do the notice for the entire year.
The entire year. Okay. Got it.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
All right, next item, 2025 curb and gutter replacement program.
Yeah, so we received the bids and opened the bids yesterday for the 2025 curb and gutter replacement program. We had 2,975 feet that need replaced. We received, I think, 5 bids, fairly competitive. We have an item later on in the agenda to recommending R.A. Miller. He came in as the lowest and best bid for $164,153.75. That's later in the agenda.
Any questions on that?
I don't have any questions on that.
Trustee McAbey, questions?
Oh, no.
All right, communication. No one is here to do that, so we will move to the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered by the Board of Trustees to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any trustee may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. No second is required for the removal of an item. Items removed for separate discussion will be considered after the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second,
Trustee McAbey,
Yes?
trustee Birding,
yes.
trustee Harkemaier,
Yes? Okay, down to fiscal officer's report, please.
All right, this evening, we're going to talk about the budget. So I've put together some slides I'd like to go through, and then you guys can answer any questions. Let's see if we can see it all. I know it's kind of hard to see, but this shows revenue, actual revenue and actual expenses by year for 22, 23, 24. So it's up in a chart in the top left, but then it's also on a graph. You'll see that the expenses went up quite a bit for 24, but a few things to keep in mind. This is annualized. So our current expenses are only at 16 million. We had to annualize it to make it apples to apples. So it likely won't be that high. And some of the differences that I wanted to point out is that paving was 500,000 more this year. Salaries was 700,000 more. We had the roundabout we paid for in 24 to City of Fairfield, and cardiac monitors was 369. So that accounts for a good portion of the difference. I show the exact same thing on this chart, but it shows by year. So you can see the revenue and expenses by year. What I want to point out with this is that even though revenue's higher in 22 and 23 and lower in 24, a lot of that has to do with ARPA and CARES money. So you kind of have to look at all 3 years combined. And if you look at all 3 years combined, revenue is higher than expenses for 3 years combined. So I wanted to point that out because ARPA really skewed the numbers because we got big chunks of money and then we didn't spend them in the same year. So I wanted to point that out.
That's a good point out there, I think.
Any questions you want me to go on?
We don't have that in our packet, right?
No, I did this for the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Is this something you can put online?
Sure.
I'd like to see all those numbers online, what you're showing us and what you provided us with.
Okay.
But I think you need to make sure that you put that double loop accounting that you just mentioned,
Mhm.
just going back and doing
With the 3 years, you mean?
explanation.
Okay.
Kind of like when you do an analyst report,
Okay.
you know, on Wall Street, something like that, that just talks through, because that does look like, oh no, what happened in this the third year here? Well, that actually isn't necessarily a bad thing
Okay.
because some of the monies were received during year 1 and year 2 and spent in year 3. So it looks like it's something bad when it isn't exactly.
Okay. I'll put
So
a
I just think
footnote
it's
at the bottom.
important that we
Yeah, look.
notate that.
We'll footnote a star or something.
Yeah.
And I can't read it.
I know,
Maybe I'm
it's
the only
really hard.
one, but it's,
I didn't realize either. I could make it bigger, but then you,
this is the way we do funding around here. It's kind of fuzzy.
That's better.
You're getting better now?
I can almost read that bottom number. Is that
Is it
46
easier?
or 48?
46 on the bottom, 47 on the top. Is this easier, Mr. McAfee, up here?
This is clear.
Could you all the bar and make it larger?
I can, it'll just take more off the
So you're
page.
telling us we brought in 47 million and spent 48 million.
No, 47 spent 46.
See, like I said, I couldn't tell that was
What's-
46.
how about there? Is that better?
Is that better now?
That's much better.
Okay. So you can see, I didn't know if you want to see the chart or the numbers. I'm a numbers person,
Yeah,
but,
I like to see it all.
okay. Well, I can't show it all.
Well, I mean, you can go slowly,
Yep,
and if you want to repeat what you said now that I can
okay. So
see it.
if I'm just looking at the numbers, so in 22, revenue was 15, expenses was 13, and then in 23, revenue was 15, expenses were 14. So obviously, we always want our revenue to outdo our expenses, but then in 24, you'll see that it's the opposite, and that is, we have to look at a 3-year trend because we got revenue in 22 and 23 that we spent in 24. And also, that 18 is annualized. So that was,
You're projecting what it's going to be at the end of the year.
well, through 1130 divided by 11 times 12, so very annualized. So we won't spend that kind of money in December. I mean, we will with payroll, but there were some big things, all year. So,
Right, I know.
I mean, I would guess 17 is where it would end, but I didn't want to not annualize it because then it's not apples to apples.
Right, and
Okay.
again, you're really good at these numbers. If you took out the ARPA money, that would be interesting to see if you just took that out and made another line on it.
And I can do
You know what
that.
I mean? Just to see what we really, and that's why I asked you for that last chart today, the cash for the
Yes,
year.
you got
I
it.
really like this.
Okay, good.
So if
I
you
don't
took,
like what it says, but I like it.
if you took out the ARPA money, then would you take out the ARPA spending?
Yes, I would offset that.
Yes, both the expenses and the,
So
Yeah.
you could,
which would be a net zero though, because we spent
yeah, real numbers instead of somebody looking up.
the same amount
Right, I
because
know
we
that,
spent what we
right.
got.
But if somebody just glances at that, doesn't read the footnote or whatever, they're going to say,
It's going up. Makes sense. Okay.
and it says the same thing. Our revenue, whatever day this is.
Today.
17.0, so that's saying the same thing.
Yes.
That'll be in there somewhere.
Yep. Okay, I will move on to the most important expense we have, which is our peoples. So this is what we've got for payroll by department for each year. So 5 million in 22, 5.7 in 23, and annualized, which is a fairly good number because payroll's usually consistent.
Can you blow it up so we can
Oh,
see it?
yes, I can. Is that big enough? Because it'll go off the page if I do it much bigger. So we all knew payroll was going up 700,000 from one year to the next, and then one year to the next. That is the chart, and then here it is by, if this helps you, so all the way to the left. Next,
In future years, is there a way to share your screen while we're broadcasting online? They don't have to see us talk about it, but they could see the actual numbers on the YouTube.
I don't think that's an option for YouTube because we use the free account, right? Like, I think we would need more broadcasting kind of.
Well, let's look into that for any kind of financial reports that we do. If it's
Okay.
possible, I think that would be great. I know that residents have access to these numbers if they come in or if they request it,
Mhm.
or if it's online. But if possible
Okay.
to, you can look into that.
Okay, I will. Okay, so I knew payroll would be the one thing that we would, obviously be a big express.
So you said it was 700,000 in the last 2 years or each year?
Each year for the last 2 years.
And so what's it going to be next year?
What I project in the 2025 budget, which I'll let you know when I get there. And that is full strength. What I did in the 2025 budget was assuming full strength.
All the openings being,
Yes.
which currently are not.
Right. Okay, so any more questions on payroll before I move on?
And that includes just the dollars being paid? It doesn't include the benefits or
No, just,
retirement or any of the rest?
well, for instance, it's gross payroll. So it would include your portion of the OPERS, but not the company's portion of the OPERS. their portion of Medicare, but not the
The
company's.
individual's portion, but not
Yes.
the township.
Right, the individual, not the township. And of course, not medical expense either. The individual's portion of medical, but that's very small compared to the township's portion. So yes, it does, I would say it doesn't include a majority of the benefits. So my next slide just shows revenue again, but this time it shows it by fund. I'm not really sure if this is very beneficial to anyone at this point, but I just wanted to point it out. The ARPA is in the other. So you can see that's why other was so much higher in 22. It kind of shows your trends for JED, the TIFs, how they go up, how safety service went up. I don't know if it's better to see or worse, but there's your departments at the bottom.
And give us the colors again.
22 is blue, 23 is orange, 24 is green. So 22, 23, 24. So TIFs are doing great. The JED is continuing to rise. And I did the same thing then by fund for expenses. So obviously expenses pretty much continue to rise. Public Works went down, but everybody else pretty much continued to rise. You'll see here the JED wasn't spent at all until 24. Now we're starting to spend the JED and ARPA's and other again. So if you look at the revenue for other here, ARPA is in that 1.4, but then most of the expenses are in 2024 for ARPA. Here's the chart, if you want to see that. And the very last thing I had for you guys, and this, my only point to this is that our 2024